Friends, even the presence of one resolute defender with the appropriate tools can win the day over a gaggle of armed thugs. Hi everyone, this is John with today's active self-protection lesson out of Nairobi, Kenya. Here we're going to see one of the crazier gunfights I have ever seen erupt in a private residence. Let's watch and see what happens. It's crazy, then we'll come back and think about some lessons. So you see here the courtyard of a wealthy home in Nairobi, and as you can see at the top, it's 1:23 in the morning. And this wealthy man has had a soiree for a bunch of guests, and now they are leaving. And as he opens the gate, this neighborhood is known to be very nice, known to have security, but like any other neighborhood, thugs travel. So what you're gonna see here is all of these guys that are getting ready to leave. Right now, we're gonna see a group of somewhere between 5 and 7 armed men are gonna come in and chase these guys off. Now, they chased what I think was a guest there off to from our right to our left now, and this guy is gonna fall down here from the gunfire. But in the news story, it didn't read that any of the guests were seriously injured, so I think that he just fell down and played possum there. Now, the homeowner, as they run back, they're running for the homeowner. You can see him run into the house here, and one of our attackers is, on the other side of this wall, and you're gonna see him come around now, but our homeowner is running off because he is going to get a firearm, and when he does, he's gonna take multiple shots and shoot that bad guy, and actually, that guy did not make it. He took the room temperature challenge, and that shot was able to drive off all of the other bad guys as well. And the news story says that no victim was hurt in this one. One of the bad guys took the room temperature challenge, and I believe they got a whole bunch of the other guys as well. Now, obviously, I think this one was at the very tail end of what could conceivably happen to you or to me, but I'm curious about your thoughts. Do you prepare for multiple armed home invaders in your self-defense plan, or is this too far-fetched for you to prepare for? Make sure that you let me know in the poll. I'm interested to see what everyone says. I do want to think about some lessons here about having the attitude of self-protection and being willing to protect yourself and your family and loved ones. Number 2, about the tools that we stage. And number 3, about having the emotional fitness to press the defense to get the attackers to leave. So some significant lessons out of this one. First of all, this is obviously a really nice neighborhood, but thugs travel. Just because you live in a nice neighborhood doesn't mean that you cannot be the victim of crime, especially violent crime, because the bad guys are gonna go where they know that there's some money, that there are valuables, that there are people who are not like them in terms of being hard and willing to do violence, and so they come to places like this. Now I wanna see our bystander here. This guy I don't think is the homeowner at the bottom of the screen, but now we have a bad guy who's come in holding an AK-47, and it takes our good guy about 3 seconds here from the time that he first recognizes it to the time that he decides to run off. And you gotta recognize, I think we see all the time, what is people's reaction time? But far more than reaction time to a stimulus like a beep on the range or something like that is the ability to process in our mind what is going on and then decide to react to it. And that took this man almost 3 seconds. So recognizing the value of training here can shorten that response time, that whether that's the OODA loop or however you want to see that, to make sure that you're able to respond adequately and orient yourself to it. Now, I don't know if that guy was shooting fireworks rounds there or whatever, but as our guy runs off here, I want to pay attention to the fact that, again, the news story says that nobody was badly hurt, and our victim here, though, our person who's running off, whether he hurt himself because he conked his head on the wall there or something and fell over, it was the sound of the gunshots that made him stumble, which kept him in a significant place of danger. And I want to warn you to be very careful of that you got to have the ability to watch where you're going and not just run away from something, but run to something, so that, God forbid, you have to run from the sound of gunfire. You don't end up hurting yourself badly like this as well. So don't just run from something, run to something. Now, thankfully, again, this guy wasn't badly hurt, and that made the bad guy just ignore him after that because he wasn't who he was looking for. Now, our homeowner is able to run back into the house and get his firearm, which, if you go read the news story, was a pistol to carbine conversion, one of those Roni G2 suckers that, was like a Glock 17 or something. Now, I want to say, when this guy comes in right here, we see the first shot. Did our homeowner have to wait for the door to be open to shoot the AK-wielding man? The answer to that, quite clearly, is no. He's in his own home. This guy has shot at people at his house with the AK-47, and that door is porous, right? It's just a screen door, like a security screen. Can he have shot him right through that? Absolutely, if he had wanted to do that, but I don't know why he didn't at that point, whether he was waiting or it took him that long to get the carbine or whatever, but you don't have to wait for the door to open in that instance because everything is met. Next, again, I think it's kind of interesting. This is the first time on video, at least, that I have seen a homeowner defend themselves with a pistol to carbine conversion. And again, the news story names exactly which one it was, which is kind of an interesting thing. Me personally, if I'm going to shoot a rifle and deal with all the drawbacks of a rifle, I want a rifle cartridge. So I think that that's great, but he had it effectively here and he did what he needed to do and put enough shots on target to end the threat. I also want to notice that even one bad guy out of the fight, all his buddies lost all the starch in them and they ran off as well. So when you talk about getting in gunfights with lots of people, multiple attackers, I almost never see good guys engage more than 2 or at most 3 attackers before the rest of the bad guys run off, because they're not looking for fights, they're looking for victims. So this homeowner did a good job of getting to his tools, putting shots on target, driving them all off, and covering his asp.